All right, let's talk about a true legend, a coach who is just as famous for his one-liners as he was for his national championships. A guy who could take a struggling team and turn it into an absolute powerhouse, all while chasing a dream he'd had since he was a little kid. We're talking about the one and only Lou Holtz.
So to really understand the legend of Lou Holtz, you have to start with one single game. The game that basically defined his entire career at Notre Dame.
And boy, did it have a nickname. This was the unforgettable, and yeah, pretty controversial, named for the 1988 showdown. You had Holtz's undefeated number 4 ranked Notre Dame on one side, and on the other, the reigning champs, the swaggering, totally dominant number 1 Miami Hurricanes. You could just feel the tension in the air.
The game itself was an absolute war, just back and forth, both teams trading punches, momentum swinging like crazy. And it all came down to the final seconds. Miami scores a touchdown, gets them within 1 point, and they decide to go for 2, to go for the win. But nope, Irish defender Pat Terrell bats the pass down, and that was it. An iconic win in one of the greatest college football games ever played.
31-30, a 1-point victory that snapped Miami's incredible 36-game regular season winning streak. I mean, that was the moment. That win catapulted Notre Dame to an undefeated season, to a national championship, and it cemented Lou Holtz's name right alongside the all-time greats.
But here's the thing you have to understand about Holtz. This was so much more than just another big win for him. This was him living out a dream he'd had his entire life.
You see, this wasn't just another coaching job for him. No way. Since he was a kid, Notre Dame was basically a part of who he was. He prayed for them to win on Fridays. The team, the school, that famous fight song. It was practically a religion for him.
And get this, he actually had it in writing. He was so dead set on this one goal that he had a special clause put into his contract at another huge program, the University of Minnesota. It basically said he could leave, but for only one specific job, head coach in South Bend, Indiana.
So when he finally stood up there at that press conference in 1986, it was everything coming together. Decades of dreaming about this one moment. He wasn't just taking a job, he was answering his calling.
But let's be clear, Notre Dame wasn't hiring a fan. They were hiring one of the best in the business at building a program, a guy who was known for coming in and turning things around like overnight.
I mean, just look at his resume. Before he even got to Notre Dame, he'd already worked his magic all over the country. He would take these struggling teams and, almost like clockwork, he'd make them winners. They even called him the magician for it.
And that huge upset against Miami? Yeah, that wasn't a one-off. A full decade earlier, he took his Arkansas team into the Orange Bowl and just demolished a powerhouse Oklahoma team that was playing for a national title. That became his thing, making his players believe they could beat absolutely anyone.
And that belief? Well, it all started with discipline. From day one. Former quarterback Steve Buerling said those were the first words Holtz ever spoke to the team. And the players, who were apparently all slouched in their chairs, they shot right up. Right then and there, they knew things were about to change. A whole new, much more demanding era had just begun.
But, his impact was so much bigger than just football strategy or winning games. For so many of his players, he was a mentor, even a father figure. Hall of Famer Jerome Bettis tells this incredible story about when Holtz was recruiting him. He said Holtz wasn't just talking football, he was talking directly to his mom, promising her that he'd look after her son as a person, not just a player. That personal promise, that commitment, that's what his players remember.
And that wasn't just Jerome Bettis saying that. You hear it again and again. Quarterback Rick Meyer just called him one of one. He just had this uncanny way of connecting with his players, teaching them about trust and commitment, lessons that stayed with them long after they hung up their helmets.
Even the other legends of the game, guys like Archie Manning, they saw it. They knew that Holtz's real legacy wasn't just in the trophy case. It was in the character he built in so many young men, year after year. And of course, the list of official awards is, well, it's just staggering. A national title, Coach of the Year multiple times, the Hall of Fame, and even one of the country's highest honors, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
And this number right here, 249. That's how many games he won in his career. That puts him way up there among the winningest coaches in the entire history of college football.
But look, beyond all the stats and all the trophies was the man himself. A man who was known just as much for his wisdom as he was for his razor-sharp, unforgettable wit.
This is just classic Lou Holtz. So his Arkansas team clinches a spot in the Orange Bowl, right? And the fans start celebrating by throwing oranges at him on the field. Without even blinking, he comes out with that line. He was just a master storyteller with perfect timing.
And this is what's truly remarkable. Even at the very end of his life, when his health was failing, his spirit was just as powerful as ever. He held an entire room captivated for almost an hour, just filling it with laughter and stories. It proves that his charisma, that special something he had, it never, ever faded.
You know, in his own book, Wins, Losses, and Lessons, he wrote this. It's so typically humble, almost self-deprecating. He always pushed praise away. And that seems like he truly believed that his legacy would just disappear.
But when you look back at everything, a national title, the countless lives he shaped, all those unforgettable moments, you just have to ask. For a man who achieved his ultimate dream and inspired so many along the way, is being forgotten even really possible? It feels like Lou Holtz's legacy is one that's going to echo for a long, long time.